Please welcome VANESSA GRELLET, Executive Director of Social Impact at Consensus.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Please have a seat. Hi, how are you guys? How's it been going so far? Okay, good. I'm here to talk today about the meaning of giving in a crypto world. I chose this topic as I've been involved for a long time in philanthropy and impact investing. And my question was, is this community a special community? Are the solutions that are we creating really specific, that it sort of shifts or shapes the way we think about giving? And so before we start, I wanted to just ask some questions to the audience to see a little bit how you behave in the world of giving and what you think about giving. So I just wanted to know, this year, who has given to a philanthropic cause? Big majority. Who has given more than 5% of their assets to a philanthropic cause? Not a lot. Oh, 2, 3. Who has actually spent time in a charity or with the beneficiaries of the grants? So some people give their time too. Great. So I have to tell you something. This year is the first year where I didn't give anything to charity. And I feel a little bit guilty. First of all, I was working all the time. But I was wondering, related to the work that we're doing, is it something that is embedded in our mission and in the work that we do through the technology? And so I feel guilty, but I don't feel so guilty. And so I want to have this dialogue with you on whether anything changes with the blockchain. So wealth is not new, neither is charity. But we've seen that using the private wealth in a very constructive, organized manner, systematic approach of problems is something that's new. It's been new in the last 50 years. We want to be more efficient. We want to tackle problems. We want to find solutions and really be able to deploy our private wealth as much as possible through charitable giving. 2 weeks ago, I was with a friend at dinner, and he said, you know what, VANESSA, this approach of always finding problems, finding solutions, etc., might be the wrong way to approach things, because it's limiting the way we see the world, and we're not focusing on one part of the equation, which is our connection, which is the other person and the human connection. And when you're able to connect at a higher level of integrity with people, and you actually take the time to do that, you realize that there are no problems that can't be solved. There is no barrier to the dialogue. There is no longer a barrier between you and me, and we are able to actually create a shared destiny together. And that's why I said we are each other's destiny, because there's no difference between you and me, between you and the other person who might be the grantee of your charitable giving. And that sort of changes the perspective and also the dialogue about what giving means, because you might not be in a position where you actually give. You may want to share with the other person. You may want to change the dynamic there. So the opportunity that we have is our community. We have a community of innovators. I think we calculated that the Ethereum developers was about 120,000 developers all over the world. For the first time, we're totally global and connected. When we started with the internet, that wasn't the case. And now the speed at which the technology is going is really something that is new and that resonates a lot with our community. So whether it's Ethereum or other protocols focusing on blockchain, Ethereum was just an example. But what's really important about this community is I feel that we really want to change the status quo. The technology in itself is a revolution, and we wanna change the world through the technology. 500 billion market cap, I'm not sure that's still the right amount, but it's true that over the past 5 to 7 years, this community created a lot of wealth for itself and for its members. So what do we do with all these features who come together and are really new, and we have like a group of really enthusiastic technologists and entrepreneurs and investors who want to change the world? So the question is, what are we going to do with our wild and precious life? We're not going to be here forever. We have limited time on this earth. So what are we going to do all together as a community? Before I go into what we can do, I wanted to look a little bit at our motivations. So you all said that you were giving your money or your time. And I had the opportunity a few years ago to do some fundraising for a charity called University of the People, who is the first online university that ever got accredited in the US. And so they're able to give US diplomas to refugees, displaced people, in low-tech environments. And I learned a lot during that experience. Why do we give anyway? What compels us to give? Do we want to give for the good reasons? Do we want to give for other reasons? I did a little bit of research. The principal motivation stated by the donors, by order of importance. The first one is personal values and ethics and morality. Second one is believing in a specific cause. You really care about women empowerment. You really care about the environment. And you want to allocate your assets and your time to this. The third one is faith. And faith-based giving in the US has been very, very big and has been the driver of lots of evolutions in philanthropy and impact investing. And then there's your personal experience. For example, you had someone in your family who's a victim of cancer, you'll be prompted to give to cancer research opportunities. But when I started fundraising, I was leveraging totally other sort of sentiments and how would you say, motivations from my donors. And the first one was the Black Tie Gala. So whether it's a gathering or meeting with a group of like-minded investors, a lot of people were motivated to give on that basis because it allowed them to create a community, network, etc. We would also guilt people into donating or prompt their deepest fears. And that was an interesting leverage. Tax breaks, of course, are always a motivation. And personal trauma and empathy also come in. But at the end of the day, it all boiled down to the feeling that you want to belong, you want to be part of a community, you want to be loved, basically. So does all this really matter? In my view, it doesn't. Whatever your motivation for giving, no one really cares besides you. And I think the issue that we're seeing in the philanthropic world is that we focus on us, on our ego, and what matters to us. I think what really matters is our actions. And as Oscar Wilde said, I love these quotes, the smallest act of kindness is worth more than the grandest intention. That means that actions speak louder than words, and we really need to figure out what is it that we want to do as a community and individually, of course. So we have a few options ahead of us. The first one, charity starts at home. You can take care of yourself, you can take care of your family, you can take care of your community, and you can take care of your passions. I have nothing against the Lambo Bros. I like nice cars too, but I think you want to be also very careful about where you focus your attention. So charity becomes at home because it allows you to act with integrity with yourself and the people that are close to you, and then you can go out to the world to actually make it a better place. So I think it's still very important. Philanthropy, classical philanthropy as we know it, is always an option. In 2016, 390 billion was given away in the US alone. And we've seen some members of the crypto community or the blockchain community give away a lot of money. So there's something called the Pineapple Fund, which is a fund that gave away around $55 million anonymously to traditional charitable causes. Ripple Works created a foundation that focuses on supporting social entrepreneurs. So we're still in the classic model of giving to charities. But what does that really tell us? What are we doing? Are we changing anything? I'm not so sure. We're just continuing to put Band-Aids through philanthropy on causes that we care about. And this is important because philanthropy or impact investing does have unintended consequences. And so we need to be very careful and mindful when we take these actions. As I've said before, we target the symptoms, the problems, not the causes. When you're doing, for example, a remittance-based project, you want to lower the fees of the people sending money to their loved ones in other countries. It doesn't solve the problem of the people in those countries which don't have opportunities to sustain themselves. It reinforces the status quo. There's a lot of corruption and fraud, unfortunately. And then there's this donor bias. As we've seen mega billionaires really dedicate a lot of money to charity and philanthropy, we've seen that they focus on what they think is best. Is that the best way to solve society's problem? Who are they to judge what is best? Besides, especially when they're driven by their personal motivations. So there's inefficiency of tax breaks, inefficiency of use of funds, but all these unintended consequences makes us think that there's no real accountability to the givers. They just give money. The receivers might get lucky, it might be a good solution. They might get very unlucky and have solutions that destroys their current habitat or their current economic situation. And there's accountability to the givers, but not really to the receivers. They don't really have a say in this, nor the governments in which a lot of the philanthropies act. So thinking about philanthropy, I've been giving a lot of money, and I see that in this room a lot of people give money, but really think about what it means to give in that context. The third option is impact investing. So this has gained a lot of attention because it allows you to change also the conversation with the donors. Instead of donating money, you're investing in people. You're giving them the opportunity to create companies which focus on specific social impact problems. You get a financial return, and then you're also at the same time getting a social impact, and you can measure it. This also allows you to redeploy your asset within existing business and change existing business models. So for example, if you focus on the environment and you want to really reduce the carbon footprint of your model, of your company, you have the opportunity to do that. But still, this is always coming from the perspective of the donor and the perspective of the person who invests. So these three options are open to anyone in our community, but I want to think about something else. I want us to redirect our attention to other things. And why is that? Because if we want real change, there's never going to be change until we create new models. We need to make the new model the old model obsolete. I don't think we'll get there if we don't do that. And I think blockchain has the opportunity to do that at a major scale. So if we think of how we can interact with the people, the causes we care about, I would prompt you and I would urge you to really focus on blockchain initiatives. I've been dedicating my entire year to this, and I see the changes that it brings, because you're going to be able to connect with your community, bring on outsiders to the community like what we're trying to do today, create new decentralized business models. You can even be more intentional if you have a specific problem to solve and work on those problems on a blockchain-based solution. And it allows you to create a more equitable society. What would be super exciting is that as investors, technologists, or just people working in the space, we would look at these models that we create and embed certain features which allow more equitable society. And we have the opportunity to do that. We have the opportunity to do that at the protocol layer, and we have the opportunity to do that at the application layer. And always looking to unintended consequences, even with these new models that we create. Let's have a filter, a common denominator on what does ethics mean in the blockchain space? What does impact mean in the blockchain space? And really, really think about what we're doing. That would allow us to shift away from the old model that doesn't serve us. Together, we can redefine giving by focusing on connecting as a community and create all these new models. And I want to prompt you to think about how we can shift from giving to sharing. Because giving is still something that I take away from myself and that I give to you. If I share, we have this common purpose together, and that's very, very different. And the way you can share your time, your talent, your connection, create jobs, or invest in blockchain impacts, there are so many opportunities out there. You don't have to be a technologist to be involved. I don't have a technology background, and we've been driving a lot of the conversation in this space. You can share your time. You can work with new entrepreneurs. You can mentor them. You can share your talent and just do hackathons and educate people. You can share a connection. Sometimes when you're an entrepreneur, that will change your life. One connection, two connections, to funders, to other people who are working in the space is huge. So if we make that collective effort as a group to support each other and share our resources, I think we'll be creating this new definition of giving and this new definition of sharing. If you wanted to be more intentional about what you do, there's tons of things to do, tons of problems to solve, and not coming from that problems approach, but the main issues that we've seen in the blockchain space where there are blockchain solutions is financial inclusion, energy and climate, democracy, criminal justice, identity and vulnerable populations, supply chains, human rights. Pick your cause. You'll have plenty of time to deal with it. The last but not least, we've seen that our community is great, but it's actually not very diverse. And I would urge everyone in this room to really think about this. If you have the opportunity to create processes that allow you to have more diverse candidates, bring that diversity in your project, whether it's people working on the project or also people that you're including as stakeholders for your project, I think that would be a huge step forward for our community and for technology overall. And so with those words, I'll finish about my experience at Consensus. I've been working there almost a year and a half. And I've seen the company grow from 60 to 800 people. And with that, the constant search for making this world a better place and the constant search for deploying more and more application, creating new companies to grow the space in order to really have an impact and really change the world. So thank you so much for listening to me. If you have any questions, let me know. I can go to the mic. Yeah.
Hi, Vanessa. Thank
Hi.
you so much. I'm Ronnie Rose. I'm representing ETH News here, but I also have a podcast, Blockchain B, where I interview companies that are using blockchain tech for social good. So this is something that matters a lot to me. What are some of the companies that you really admire who are doing social good in this space and are obviously for profit?
So most of the companies we work with, we also manage something called the Blockchain for Social Impact Coalition, which has over 60 members now all over the world. And we work with companies ranging from the World Bank to startups in the ecosystem. And I'm not going to name any company, but I really love the companies that are focusing on financial inclusion. I think there's huge opportunity there, and also the climate change. I think it's something blockchain can really focus on and really make a difference in. And I've only been working with amazing companies. It's hard for me to target one over the other, but I'm happy to talk offline about it.
Can you also share what you're doing with these 60 members in
Sure.
social impact? How are you
So
supporting
we have
them?
a conference on June 1st in DC. It's going to be our second conference. What we did is when we got together with those members, we identified which are the areas where we think there's the most impact, which I stated before. And we created also an accelerator. So right now, 700 people all over the world are competing on 4 challenges for a prize of $50,000. And we have over 60 teams that are competing. And so we'll try to repeat that model together each year and several times during the year to create more and more companies in the space. The goal of the coalition is really to bring people together, to work together on those problems, fund projects together, create new companies together, educate the space, and really be able to also bring additional talent. So there's a lot of education going on there.
Thank you. Do you want to go next? Okay, thanks. Thank you for your presentation. My name's Tina Penman, and I am on the board for a nonprofit organization. My question is, first of all, how do we actually convince nonprofit organizations that receiving cryptocurrency could be of benefit to that organization? Because there are very few that are actually accepting it. And then once we cross that, how do we convince donors to actually donate via cryptocurrency because they are not able to receive an official IRS letter saying that it's a tax-deductible donation?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. So I'm not a tax specialist, so I won't give you any tax advice on how to donate. The issue that we've seen in the space is giving in crypto is a double-edged sword. Of course, we also all think that the prices are going to go up. But what if you give and the price crashes and the organization actually ends up with nothing? So you want to think about mechanisms that protect the actual charities when they receive donations in crypto, because in a bullish market everything is fine. If we're not, it might not be a great gift for them.
Hi. I have some clarifying questions. There's probably 3 or 4 questions in this. Are you sitting on top of a fund that you're managing to give out? That's one question.
So that right now is no. We're just collaborating together. If people want to fund together some projects, that's available to them, but there's no formal fund to fund these projects.
And when you call it blockchain for social good, are you only suggesting that the people who have made money in blockchain are giving portions of their cryptocurrency, or are you suggesting that people are giving money in fiat and crypto?
No, it's totally inclusive. I wouldn't make that distinction.
And are you working with Ashoka or that type of model?
I really love Ashoka. I think we're in discussion with Ashoka University to bring in those talents and that model. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Just one. Excuse me.
Sorry.
I wanted to touch on a point that you made earlier in your presentation. By way of background, I'm not from the crypto community, and I understand very little.
Could you speak closer to the mic? Sorry.
I understand very little of what I've heard the past couple of days, but the issue of connectivity is one that rings true to me. My daughter started a charity about 3 years ago of feeding the homeless in our community, and she chose that specifically because she wanted a measure of connectivity. She literally has me drive around alleys and find people sleeping behind dumpsters, that sort of thing. And as much support as we're getting in our community for these actions, there's an awful lot of people that don't want to go look behind dumpsters and shake hands with homeless people, but still want to help. And I'm wondering if there's not something about the blockchain technology that could provide a measure of connectivity to people that really like the idea, really want to help, and really want to see their impact personally, but not get out of their car in scary neighborhoods, that sort of thing. What are your thoughts on that?
So I think it's the issue that I tried to highlight before, is that if you have that human connectivity from the beginning and you don't have that distance between yourself and the person you give to, that really changes everything. I'm not going to say I can do anything for the people who don't want to shake the hands of homeless in the streets. We've seen projects in the blockchain focusing on homelessness and reconnecting actually people who are homeless to their families and treating that from a human perspective, but based on technology, and reconnecting them with social services, making them aware that they are allowed to have access to those services. But I think until we change our ways and change the way we think about these problems, it's just going to be same old, same old.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.